Hey boys and girls, welcome to Art Recycled. Today we are going to draw a pumpkin. Now, not just any view of a pumpkin. We're going to draw this pumpkin from a view called bird's eye view. Now what bird's eye view is, it's when you look at something from the sky and you're looking at it downward. So for example, this is a picture of a city with bird's eye view, or this is an example of a body of water with bird's eye view. Typically we would take the pumpkin and we would draw it from the side view or the profile shot. But this pumpkin, we're looking directly down at it from the stem. So I'm going to teach you today basically how to divide the pumpkin up into these sections and then how to use shading with different colors to kind of make these sections look like they're round, like they're bumping up, and then here where the light hits it, it's a little lighter, and here where the pumpkin is sinking down, it's shadowed and looks a little darker. Now for this lesson, you need some tool that blends. So I chose to use oil pastels. Another good option for this would be crayons, or you could also use colored pencils. I like oil pastels because they're very, very smeary, and I tend to like to smear with my finger. If you choose colored pencils, you're gonna have to work a little bit harder to get the colors to blend, but it will work just as well. So you're gonna need a square sheet of paper. If all you have is a rectangular 9 by 11 sheet of paper or 8.5 by 11, just fold the corner over and that will make a square, and then you can get started with us. All right, here we go. All right, so to get started on my pumpkin, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to find the exact middle of my paper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my square paper, I'm gonna fold it like a book, fold one side to the other, press down, and then open, and that gives me a vertical crease going up the center of the paper. If I ever move too fast, just pause the video. I'm gonna kind of flatten this out, and then I'm gonna take the top of the paper and I'm gonna fold it down, and I'm going to line it up with the bottom two edges, corners, crease, and then I'm going to open and flatten again. Now what that gives me is it gives me 4 boxes, a box here, 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 and here. And then between my vertical crease and my horizontal crease, there's a point where they intersect and meet. That's the exact center of my paper. I'm going to take my pointer finger from one hand, I'm gonna put it right on that point, and I'm gonna take my right hand, or my hand that draws, and I'm going to draw a rectangle around my finger, and this is gonna be the rectangle for the stem. Now don't be afraid to make this kind of big. I'm gonna go a little ways out from my finger, actually, about 1 inch, so I'm not right next to my finger, and I'm gonna draw up, go about 1 inch or 2 above my finger, cross over, and then come down, and I'm about the same space away on this side from my finger as I was on this side. I'm gonna remove my finger, and now I'm gonna draw the rest of my pumpkin stem. I'm gonna touch this side here, and I'm going to go out like a letter L, if I can make this an L going this way. So I go out a little bit, and then I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm gonna make this look like a backwards L. I'm gonna draw the L going this direction. And these two lines should be about the same length. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of make the bottom of this look like a star, kind of with 5 feet. So I'm going to come down and try to make this like a triangle, but I'm going to stop drawing down diagonally when this gets right under this point of the L. So where this L kind of starts to turn, when I get under that point, that's when I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna do the same thing with this side. I'm gonna turn this into a triangle, come diagonally down and in. I'm going to stop when I get right under that point of the L down here. Now this is kind of starting to look like an arrow that's pointing down. I just haven't drawn the tip of it. So now, instead of starting to draw right here in the center of this open space, I'm actually gonna move my finger down a little bit, and I'm gonna draw another triangle that's the same size as this triangle and this triangle, and it's going to point downward like this. And so these 3 are about the same size, but there's a gap in between them here. So now, here's the hardest part of drawing the stem. I'm gonna draw a triangle here that points to this corner, and a triangle here that points to this corner, and I want them to be the same size as all 3 of these. So this might mean that I might have to erase some lines here and here. I'm gonna touch here, make this triangle that points out to this corner, come back up. Now to get it the same size as these two, you see I kind of had to shoot in a little bit. So then I just erase this line. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Draw a triangle that's shooting down towards the left bottom corner, go over this way, and that one actually looks to be about the same size. So here again, you have kind of like the top of the star or the head, and then we have like 5 feet. So now to get the pumpkin to look round from bird's eye view, we have to draw some curved lines. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a line that shoots up to the top. I'm gonna make a dot up here, right above the stem of the pumpkin. I'm gonna touch the middle of the top of the stem, and I'm gonna draw a slight curved line that curves to the left. It goes up and it touches that dot. Then I'm going to make a dot in the right-hand corner, and I'm going to make a dot in the left-hand corner. And now the next line I'm gonna draw is where this letter L is. I'm gonna put my pencil right in that corner right there of that L, and I'm gonna draw a curved line that bounces up and goes to this dot. So again, it's not straight. If you make it straight, the pumpkin will look flat. I'm gonna curve up and go to that dot. And over here, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna be going to this dot. I'm gonna curve upward and go to that dot. If they're straight, the pumpkin will look, again, flat. So now I'm gonna go to these 2 feet. I'm gonna touch the end of this star. I'm gonna curve up, and go to the side, curve up, and go to the side. And now I have the 3 bottom feet. I'm going to start at the bottom of this foot, and I'm going to curve out and down and shoot to the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm gonna curve up a little bit and down to that corner. Same thing over here. Sometimes it's almost easier to tell my kids you go out straight kind of, and then just dive down, almost like that. And then this last foot needs a line. So I'm gonna curve this way this time to the right. This one curved to the left. Well, this one, bottom one's gonna go to the right. I'm gonna touch this little foot here, curve a little bit to the right, and go to the bottom. And now my pumpkin is drawn, and it's just a matter of coloring it in. Now before I have my kids color with oil pastels, I want them to be able to see these lines through the oil pastels, so I have them trace the whole thing with Sharpie. Now, boys and girls, you can color with whatever you want. This project looks really cool with markers, and then you put a little water over it to smear the colors too, if you have Crayola markers at home. Otherwise, you can use crayons or colored pencils, anything that you can blend and smear to kind of do the color on the pumpkin. I use oil pastels with my kids at Darewood, and I tell them to grab an orange, a brown, and a yellow. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna color these in each one shape at a time, and at least for these shapes that go around the core or the stem here, they're all done the same way. I tell my kids to take a brown. They start by taking the brown and they just pick a shape, so I'm picking this shape, and I would color with the brown on the inside of the black line, but I'm right next to it, and I kind of draw this super thick brown line. And then I do the same thing on the opposite side of the shape. I draw a super thick brown line on this side of the Sharpie line. And then I take my yellow, and I'm gonna draw a really thick yellow line up the center, but the trick is that the yellow line that I color up the center, it has to curve along with this shape. So it's gotta curve this way. So I'm gonna take my yellow and I'm gonna color a really thick stripe that goes up to the top of the paper, and it curves in this direction. Then I take my orange and I fill in both sides with my orange. Now, once I do that, this is the fun part. I'm gonna smear the colors. And what this is gonna look like is, you know when the pumpkin goes up and down like this? This part's gonna look like a shadow, and this is gonna look like the light is hitting the pumpkin, and it helps this drawing to look round. So I'm gonna take my finger, and I'm now going to smear the orange oil pastel into the yellow and the brown into the orange, just a little bit, and go back and forth like this. Now, boys and girls, if you're doing this with Crayola markers, the way you could smear your colors is by just getting a wet brush. Crayola markers will bleed a little bit if you get them wet. Otherwise, you can overlap colors with crayons and colored pencils to kind of get this blended effect. So now, boys and girls, all of these shapes on the outer part, they are all done exactly the same way. You're just gonna turn your paper and do the next shape. All right, now that all the sections of my pumpkin are colored in, I'm gonna color in the stem, and I'm gonna use a brown to color in the stem, and then I'm going to use kind of a white or a peach kind of over it a little bit because I don't want the stem to kind of blend in with those brown lines. I want it to stand out from that a little bit. So you're gonna see me put those colors over the brown and then smear them kind of in a similar way that I did with these sections. All right, boys and girls, and the last color I'm gonna use is black. And I'm just going to go over all those black Sharpie lines I had before, and those lines are now really gonna pop. All right, boys and girls, and there is my finished pumpkin from Bird's Eye View. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you next time on Art Recycled. Bye.